Yep.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so good morning, everybody. Again, my name is Antonio Leon. I work for the Livelihoods Resource Centre. I'm based here in Panama. I'm the focal point for the Latin America and the Caribbean for the Livelihoods Resource Centre of the Federation, managed and hosted by the Spanish Red Cross. So thank you all for your time, for being here today. We're going to have a session where we're going to try to go through some livelihood interesting points. So I think we're going to ask you a few things. We're going to ask you to fill your name and your national society and your email address in a list. Somebody in the chat box will probably contact and information to do that. So we want to have a list of people who attended, and we can also share with you any document that we can we will share after this session. And we're gonna ask you please to close your mics, to mute yourself, and so you can we can have a session without background noise. In case you want to participate, you can raise your hand. We're going to have space for question and answers. We have kind of two different parts. We're going to have question and answers at the end of each part. You can also use the chat box, and we will try to address as much as possible. If you're okay with that, we're going to also record the session, so we can also share it later on. And having that said, I think we can start. I'm hoping that I can move. Yes, I can. So we are in this session, which is we hope is going to last around 1 hour. We're going to address a few topics. Mainly, we're going to show to you and explain to you different technical livelihoods material and resources that we have produced from the Livelihoods Resource Centre for COVID-19. We're going to go through the 3 of them. And then we also, more from a regional perspective, we are going to go through the contents of the area of focus number 3, Livelihoods and Basic Needs, the contents of this sector in the emergency plan of action of the emergency appeal COVID-19 IFRC. So we're going to go through the details a little bit for all of you to know what we have planned that could be implemented or done by national societies and supported by IFRC through the appeal. So that will be a little bit the content of the session, and it's linked to this to the objectives. We want to provide information to you about the emergency appeal and the livelihood component of it. We want to show to you the different resources that are available for livelihoods and COVID. And we want to get also your needs. We would like to, from the Livelihoods Resource Centre, we would like to hear from you what your national society needs, technically speaking, so we can better adapt our work to your needs. What challenges are you facing? What are your needs from the technical livelihood point of view, and so we can you can adapt our work to your needs. Okay, so let's go into the first topic. Before that, I just would like to brief 1 minute about the Livelihoods Resource Centre. It's one of the many resource centers of the Federation. As I said, it's hosted by the Spanish Red Cross. Therefore, its headquarters is based in Madrid, in Spain, and we mainly work in 4 areas. The first one is to create knowledge and share it. Basically, we create or adapt methodologies, tools, approaches to livelihoods, and we share and disseminate them among the movement and also outside the movement. We also aim to strengthen capacities of the national societies, mainly through provision of technical training courses, whether they are online or in person. This is our second main activity. We also advocate and sensitize within and outside the movement about livelihoods themes to position better the sector among our work and among the humanitarian work. And finally, we have a roster of technical person or expert, and they provide technical assistance when requested, whether it's remote technical assistant or it needs to mobilize to the field and provide some in-depth studies like need assessment or cash feasibility studies or impact assessment or many other different technical assistance you might think in the field of livelihood. So this is basically what we do. So once we know who we are, we're gonna start with showing you what different products we have elaborated in the Livelihoods Resource Centre for the COVID-19. That they are all accessible by our website. This effort has been done by the Livelihoods Centre together with the British Red Cross. What we have done, we have done this because we have seen that the impact of the crisis in the socioeconomic sector is large. We are probably focused in the health impact, but we probably all know by now how it's going to impact our economies, our country economies, and of course our family economies in all of different countries. So we have here some information globally about what the global figures are telling us, how much poverty is going to increase due to the crisis, how much the income and people have we have some specific numbers also for Latin America. We also have figures about remittances, how the decline of remittances globally, and we know how much some of our families depend on those remittances, and of course the increase, the people living next to have to fall into hunger with this. Unfortunately, fall into hunger. We have different tools to measure that globally. So this is just a picture. So this has prompted us to produce some, to elaborate some products. We'll show you one of them. It's in an infographic about the what we consider could be the impact of the crisis on the livelihood and food security of people. This is what we anticipate. It's telling kind of the same thing that we were seeing in the previous slide. But we anticipate a lot of reduction of income, especially in the informal economic sector or informal jobs. The micro and small businesses, and some of them are very key to our economies in the Caribbean, like the hospitality, tourism, restaurant, transportation. So this is very key to our sub-region. And of course, families who have suffer, lost a member of the family, the breadwinner, or some of the members are sick, including the breadwinner, are the most affected. They will be the most affected. Also, another impact that we have seen is an increase in household expenditure. Probably household, they need to deal with the extra needs, so their expenditures are on the rise. As we said before, the reduction of lot of remittances is affected, especially also for those stationary jobs like migration for the harvesting season and all those kind of stationary jobs that produce income will be cut off. There will be also impact on the access to food and basic needs, whether because people have no income or because the markets are disrupted or because prices go on the rise. And we might also expect that if some poor farmers at the rural level are not supported, primary production could be affected also due to movement restrictions and so. All this will lead to malnutrition to the most vulnerable households, those already living under poverty, and those living just above the poverty line. So all this will also create people like the families to try to cope with the situation, and some of them will fall into coping strategies. Some of them positive, like many of us are doing probably, but some of them will fall into negative coping strategies, which damage the basis of their assets and will jeopardize their ability to recover from the crisis. So this is a little bit of picture, and we now want to tell you briefly why we have done this, apart from analysis of the expected impact. We also have seen that all the measures done by the government, implemented by the government, movement restriction, and all this is causing a high impact in the economies of the households. We have seen that this crisis is going to have a large impact in urban context and also in market systems, and we are not so familiar with those contexts. We are not so much, we don't feel so self-confident with those two contexts, the urban context and the market system approach. So this is a big challenge that we foresee facing, that we, the movement, we are going to face. And of course, how long it's going to last. We don't know how long it's going to last. The measures from the government, the restrictions, we have a second wave. We don't know when the vaccine will be ready. So this crisis, the duration of the crisis is unknown. So this also a big challenge that made us trigger us. So we identify some needs to advocate we advocate to make visible the impact in the economies, socioeconomic impact, apart from the health impact of the crisis. So we are putting a lot of effort in trying to make this visible to decision makers. We need to integrate mitigation measures in our programs, whether it's short, medium, term, or long term. We need to adapt our resources, our technical resources, to those concepts that we mentioned before that we are not so strong at them, like urban context or market system. And of course, now we need to adapt everything to remote work. And related to this, how do we strengthen local capacities working from home? So this is also another need that we identify. So trying to answer this need, we're gonna show you the different products that we have elaborated. And these are meant to help us provide continuity to our ongoing projects and programs. They need to be adapted to the new reality, the new needs, and our new ways of working with restriction of movement, with our protecting our staff and volunteers, and of course our users, our beneficiaries. And of course, we need to also come up with new interventions to respond to the very crisis that we are facing. So trying to address all this, we have produced these three main resources. The first one is a Helpdesk, a technical technical Helpdesk service. That we'll go through it right now. We'll give you the details now. We have also produced a website where we are uploading all documents and material that we are finding, whether they are internal or external to the movement, so we can find them all in one place. And also we are trying to produce infographics with key guides and recommendations. So let's go through each one of them. The Helpdesk. It's a helpdesk that is being provided by the Livelihoods Resource Centre and the British Red Cross. With our current staff, we are trying to answer technical requests for assistance from national societies. This service is now provided only to the movement, to the Red Cross movement. We have not, let's say, hired new staff in our teams to deal with this. We are dealing with the core staff. So as of today, we are just providing this service to the Red Cross movement. You have there the links to access to it either through our website, or we'll lead you to this email address, and you write to that email address. We provide we're committed to provide an answer in a working day time. It's open from Monday to Friday, 5 working days a week, and it's provided in English, Spanish, and French. So this is the service in itself. We expect to provide technical guidance, of course, remotely, support a specific program measure and adjustment to provide continuity to livelihood, food security, and livelihood ongoing programs, review documentation, and any other requests that come. We're going to try to learn from this experience. So we are going to try to provide some frequently asked questions. We're going to produce updates. We expect to produce case studies and fact sheets and learning resources. We might update our toolbox that is uploaded in our website, and of course we will share everything that we produce to our website and social networks. So what kind of requests we have received so far? Mainly it's a question how to adapt the current project and programs to the COVID-19 context. We have been asked to review proposals and requests for advice or guidance on how to plan for the implementation, how to address needs, and how which tools are available in the movement to address those needs, and how to monitor the markets. Those are the main questions that we have been receiving. The second resource or product we have is available. It's, as I said, it's a website, and we have uploaded in our website, in that link that you can see there, all different documents, analytic documents, different from whether from the movement or outside the movement, whether there are people, organizations that are analyzing the impact or providing recommendations, or whatever we are finding, basically. From a global perspective, but also regional documents. So everything we find, and if you find interesting document that you want to share with us, please do so we can host them in that website. So basically, here you have a picture of how it looks. There is a list, and we can you can also see that the documents are available in different languages depending on the document. That is the second resource that we have produced, and the third one are the infographics. This is our own product. We are producing thematic guidance. They are produced in 4 different languages: English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese. And you can find them in the link that you can see in your screen. And we're gonna go through them, not in detail, but just to let you know what we have produced so far. So we have seen the first infographic that we saw at the beginning of the presentation was about the impact of the crisis on food security and livelihoods. Then we have produced a second infographic about providing recommendations for intervention, what we think that could be our interventions, whether in the emergency response phase or in the early recovery. And you have there an overview. We have produced infographic for recommendation how to provide continuity to our ongoing project and programs, taking into account the different, not only the crisis, but the different measures taken by the government, social distancing and restriction of movement of people. This is a link in 2 different, it's divided in 2 different infographics. Then we have also produced an infographic on the role of the saving and credit groups, community groups. We believe they are key to this crisis, and we have produced this infographic related to those groups. We have also produced an infographic about how to conduct distributions, taking into consideration the context of COVID-19, and how to promote nutrition in this context, also in the context of the crisis. So these are the different infographics that we have produced, and they are all uploaded in our website. You have all this information and many other that we publish in our social network. We kindly ask you to follow us, and also to mention that we have there is a website in the Preparedness Center, the Disaster Preparedness Center hosted by the American Red Cross. There are also all the different COVID-19 services that are also hosted in that website. So in that website, you can also find not only livelihood COVID-19 services, but also different other like community engagement, accountability, cash transfer, and cash and voucher assistance, health, and many others. So we recommend you to visit that website. You can find quite a lot of resources for your work in the context of COVID-19. So with this, I will give the floor to you for questions, and then we would like to know also what is your view, whether what are your needs, your national society needs, and what are the challenges you are facing, and so we can, as I said, one of the objectives of this session is to hear from you whether this is useful to you, and what else will you need, how so we can direct us and we can better support national societies. So I'll open the floor, and I hope I can get to the chat box. Yes, here I am. So feel free to write your questions or to provide us advice. What do you need? What do you need? Adrian, I think, wants to.
Hello, good morning to all. This is Adrian, IFRC Livelihoods Delegate from Bahamas. I'm talking on behalf of Misty, which is the operation officer here at Bahamas Red Cross. Unfortunately, she had to go. But she told me that one of the needs they have here in Bahamas is this is the first time they implement livelihoods projects. So they would like to have like training, the livelihoods programming course that the center is providing. This is one of the things I already put in the budget, but this is one of the main needs because, as I said, this is the first time they develop livelihoods projects here in Bahamas. So they request that from the Livelihoods Center.
Okay, thank you, Adrian. Yeah, training courses are available. We just need to know what timing is best and how to provide resources. What we are trying to do, so we can have a discussion now about this topic or any other topics, but any request for technical assistance, we kindly ask you to write to that email address that we have seen before, because we want to channel all our all the requests through this channel, so we can first better provide the best assistance, because it's not only me, it's a team of technicians that we are providing answer to those questions. And secondly, because we want to learn from this exercise, so we want to monitor the question. We want to, at the end, systematize and capitalize this exercise. So we encourage you to write that comment, that request to that email address, and we will come back to you as soon as possible. Thank you, Adrian. Anybody else wants to? You're welcome. Anybody else want to say something? What other needs do you have? What other products you think you will need? Anything you want to tell us to guide us, to guide our work towards supporting you and your work in the national society. Over. Okay, I don't see any more hands raised. I don't see any question in the chat box. Shall I continue then? I'm going to continue, and then you can always type in the chat box your questions. Let me see if I can come back to the presentation. Do you see the presentation again? Well, probably you have been watching it all the time. Do you see the presentation? Okay, thank you, Shani. Okay, so I'll continue to the second part of the session, where we are going to present. As you know, the Federation has launched a global appeal, emergency appeal for COVID-19. And here in the region, in the Americas, we have produced our regional emergency plan of action with different sectors. And the area of focus or sector of livelihood and basic needs, we were asked to produce our emergency plan of action in record time. So, and also due to the restriction of movement and so on, so we were forced to do a desk review. So we want to share with you what we have thought could be done in the next month in this context and responding to the crisis. What we have designed, it's general enough and flexible enough to allow for many different kind of livelihood activities. So we believe that it could be an umbrella that can take any activity, livelihood activity that any national society is thinking of according to a specific context of the national society and the country. So basically, if I can go in general terms, the content of this emergency plan of action for livelihoods, it includes activities aiming to cover or to meet basic needs of the most affected population through multi-purpose cash transfer or multi-purpose cash assistance that address a large variety of needs and give the choice to the people. So that would be one of the components. Another one will be food security by providing food to affected population. We thought of this because we might think that some people, the use of cash for some people might not be helpful because they cannot leave their homes, or they don't want to leave their homes, or we don't want them to leave their homes and put them at the risk of transmission. So we also thought on providing and distributing food at home. So that is the second component of this emergency plan of action. That those two will be like the response, rapid response components. After that, we thought of restoring in the recovery phase, early recovery and recovery. We were thinking of restoring livelihoods, and we thought of different contexts, whether it was urban context or rural context, whether it was more like linked to pay jobs or employment and businesses, or if we are more in a rural context, more like agriculture or small businesses, typically in the rural context. Apart from that, there are services to affected people or communities. We also thought of training courses. So Adrian, answering also to Bahama Red Cross, we thought of providing training courses to national societies. There is a variety or a menu of different technical courses, livelihood, cash transfer program, rapid market assessment, labor assessment, and so on. So employability, integration with enterprises. So there is a menu of training courses, so we could mobilize those trainings for national society or regionally or sub-regionally. And also we thought that we might need to produce some technical studies to inform our decision and our programs and interventions. In some cases, we can produce ourselves through our network of volunteers and employees, but also sometimes we need to outsource those resources and through consultancies hire a firm to produce some studies for us. So those are the 5 main 6 main components contents. But let's go a little bit one by one a little bit. If I can go to yes, I can pass to the next. So when we talk about multi needs and multi-purpose gas transfer to cover basic needs, we have thought of 800 households, 500 Swiss francs, for 3 months. So one installment of the first month for 500, a second installment of 500 for the second month, and a third installment of the third month for 500. But however, all this is flexible. So and all these figures are regional, so they are for the region, of course. So 800 households, it means the entire region, but it's not assigned or earmarked for sub-region countries or national society. So it could be different in different countries. Of course, the amount is also an estimation. It will vary depending on the country and the food and the minimum salary of many other different indicators of in each country, and also the duration of the assistance could also be adapted to different countries. So these are just overall figures or average figures to allow to request resources through a global appeal and have the resources ready for the national society. There is a list of activities that we think in that component that we are not going to go through them. You can read them, and we will make this presentation available. I just wanted to give you a broad picture of that component. Next component would be food security. It's similar, but instead of providing or distributing cash or vouchers, we were thinking of providing in-kind assistance with food parcels, whether it's cooked or dry food, to 1,000 households, valuing this monthly support for 400 Swiss francs and for 3 months. But again, these figures are completely flexible. It's not written in stone, so this can be, of course, it change because the cost of living is different. These figures, they really have to change it for each country, but it just provide an overall figure for all of us. Next component will be restoring livelihoods, whether it's urban or rural. We try to be kind of 50-50 between urban and rural. So here you have an amount of household that we aim to support with different amounts to restart their businesses or to restart their production or whatever it is. Of course, this support will be more like a long-term, medium-term, long-term. So it provides a sustained assistance. It could be done through a variety of modalities and mechanisms, whether it's in cash or voucher or in kind, and providing trainings and providing linkages to employment and many other. Of course, providing coaching and accompanying these businesses or these employments for a period of time to make sure that the person gets back to work. And of course, it has to do a lot with market-based activities. We need to support markets to be able, these markets to produce employment and services to people. So this is also a snapshot of what we have thought of it. Then we want to also show you what we have thought that we might need in terms of management. As we mentioned, we plan for courses, training courses. We are here. We have planned for 5 courses, meaning we have budgeted for 5 courses, an average amount per course. And as I said, there is a menu of different training courses. LPC means livelihood programming course, is the first training course when you start the livelihood technical curriculum. ERLA, is Emergency and Recovery Livelihood Assessment, is the advanced training course in livelihood produced by the movement, the Livelihoods Resource Centre, Cash and Voucher Assistance, CVA, and then the rest that you can read. So we can organize these training courses by national society, sub-regionally, regional, depending on the needs. As I said, also we have planned for financial resources to outsource for firms or consultants to produce technical studies for us. And here we have a potential study, but anything that we need in each context. And then we have also planned for staffing. We have planned to hire some. We have face. I mean, it's going to be a big challenge. This livelihood and socioeconomic impact. So we think that we need to enlarge our team. So we have planned for livelihood and basic needs profiles and cash and voucher assistance profiles, whether it's from 6 to 12 months. And we have planned for regional, sub-regional, and national position. But again, it's flexible. It could vary. So this is what we have planned. I don't know whether we have more. Yes. So. Short summary: the number, the figures for the EPoA for livelihood, figure and targets, the time allocation for the response for the recovery, and we have budgeted for 6.6 million Swiss francs. This is going to be revised. There are already discussions at global level to revise the emergency appeal to ask for more funds, and as long as I've heard, if it's revised, also the livelihood component will increase. So it's the first amount. This has been we are advocating for these resources. Partnership and Resource Development Department are working hard with our donors and partners to raise these funds. The appeal is kind of full, but they need to allocate by region. I mean, the global appeal is full, but they have to. There are some earmarking for Asia, Europe, Africa, America. So we are still getting the figures out clear from the PRD department. And here are some graphs about what we plan. As you can see, we have tried to balance between response and recovery, kind of 50-50, and having around 18% of costs that there are technical studies, staff, and training courses, helping both components. And also in the other graph, you can see also between try to break down between response and basic needs and food needs, food security, staff, technical studies, and training courses. So I believe this will be the end of my presentation. I'm glad to receive your questions. Feel free to raise your hand, to participate straight ahead, to write your question in the chat box. So I'm here to answer any question. Please go ahead. We're very quiet. I don't know whether it's I think it's very clear or you're not following. Please feel free. Don't be shy. Anything you want to also catch up from the first part of the session? If you want to give us a recommendation, what do you need from us from the Livelihood Resource Centre? What challenges you're facing, or any other things you want to share with us about the context of the emergency plan of action? Marva said that they have problem with the internet. So now we are, in case you are just coming back in, we are just opening the floor for questions. If you want to ask anything, or you want to share any thoughts or recommendation for us. The recording, I don't know how we get it. Kadrim will provide. Kadrim, Shani, you want to address this? I don't know when the recording will be available. By end of today. Shani is saying by end of today, so you will get it today. Stacy, I think you wanted to intervene, or maybe go ahead. Stacy Ann, you raise your hand. You go ahead. If you are talking, you're in mute. In case you want to.
Good morning.
Go ahead. Good morning, Stacy.
Good morning from Jamaica. Are you hearing me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Good morning. I am really representing the Jamaica Red Cross, and on behalf of the Jamaica Red Cross, I would want to extend my sincerest appreciation for such in-depth and also comprehensive program, which is what you are suggesting. I do hope, however, that we will be gaining access to the materials, because we would want to assess them further in our national societies, and also see Helpdesk incorporate them now in our programs and strategies that we're currently doing.
Yes, Stacey, I don't know whether you finished your intervention or the connection went off, but the materials, we will have the recording, we will provide with the presentation, all the resources that we have talked in the first session, they are available in the website. The link has been shared in the chat box, so please feel free to go and open those links. And the emergency plan of action, it's published. We can also share by the end of the day with the recording the emergency appeal, and the regional emergency plan of action is available. It's published in FedNet, but we can provide it to all of you together with the recording of this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, Andrea Phillips is asking, hello, considering that the entire country is affected in one way or the other, how would you suggest the selection of beneficiaries to be done? This is a big question. We're getting this question very often, so it very much depends on your context. I will kindly ask you to write this question to the email address that I'm just going to check whether it's showing the screen here. Okay, either here down on the right bottom corner of your screen you can find. So I kindly ask you to write to that email address. Basically, as I said, it depends on your context. So I don't have it's not mathematics. It's not 2 + 2 = 4. So it will depend. You have to find the most vulnerable people in your country. What we are recommending, since it's gonna be very complex. First, try to check with the group that you are already supporting before the crisis. So you probably were supporting the most vulnerable people in your country or in your context before COVID-19 started. So probably these groups are also among the most affected, or they are very much affected because they were in a very vulnerable situation before. So that could be an entry point. Other entry points, for example, I've seen in Argentina Red Cross, they have worked through, how we call it, community feeding places. They are not from the Red Cross, it's like communal. So they are assuming that people who go to those community feeding places are vulnerable enough to go there. So they're also making in a smart way, so they are not going in direct contact with the people. They are supporting the community feeding places themselves, not the people who come to be fed, but the community feeding, the running of these feeding places. So the affected people are not getting dependent on the Red Cross assistance. And while they are supporting these community feeding places, they are assessing those users to see which of them can be supported for the recovery, for restarting their livelihood. So I think it's a very smart move of selecting people using mechanisms that are already in place, that not overload your organization, and people who are resorting to those mechanisms are already vulnerable. But as I said, you are welcome to write your question. We can provide you with whatever we have available technically, and we can process your question. How soon will the trainings be available? That's also a very good question. Trainings are organized upon request. So basically, it depends on the needs. If national societies request for them, we can provide them. They are now in present will be difficult, but the online training courses can be organized. They're a bit long. The online, they are between 2 and 3 months. So it's we're trying to see whether we have a possibility to shorten them. But as I said, how soon? As soon as you request and the situation allows. So it really depends on request. The materials are available, the trainers are available, so it's just a matter of answering to requests. Thank you, Shani, for putting it in the chat box the email address. I don't know if anybody else wants to intervene. I don't know whether anybody's raised their hands. There are some documents that we have. I tried to also to add a little bit to how to select beneficiaries in several documents that you might find in our website. In that repository, you can find indication of what might be the most affected groups, whether are migrants, whether are informal workers, whether are domestic workers, whether are people working in sectors like tourism or transportation or others. So there are people living on remittances, depending on remittances. So there are some groups identified that from a global or regional perspective, we expect to be the most affected. But as I said, it depends on each context and reality. But we can give you some indications. So please feel free to write to us, and then we can provide those documents to you. Anybody wants to share any more comments or questions? Please go ahead. Feel free. Don't be shy. No, I don't see more comments, more questions. We also wanted to use this this session to identify some kind of a list of people in the national society, so we can contact when we want to talk to the Caribbean about livelihood. So I think it has been done through Kadrim, has launched the session, the webinar, has made the call, and do not get surprised if we came back to you, specifically you, to share more information or to call you for different meetings or to call you for meetings when we try to address livelihood issues in the Caribbean. We have a network of livelihood technicians in the national societies in the region. Most of them are Spanish speakers. We have very few in the Caribbean. We acknowledge that livelihood has not. We have not put enough effort in spreading livelihoods. The theme of livelihood in the Caribbean. We face some challenges to do so. But we want to also utilize this crisis to create, if possible, a network of people interested in livelihood in the national society. So it might be our entry point also. So don't be surprised if we contact you again. And if you feel you're not the right person, you want to redirect, feel free also to tell us, please. Somebody else. Let me see somebody else. I think Sylvester from Dominican Red Cross. I think that cash is the best way to go as it relates to livelihood. However, how often do you suggest that a top-up be given? Good question. It will probably depend on your analysis of the needs, what people need and for how long. We have planned for amount, but it's not that amount comes from a desk exercise, so it's not applicable to any specific reality. And for 3 months. So that is also a desktop exercise. But me, from the technical point, I recommend to support people in a sustained way, even if that means to be to reach less people than to reach more people, but just with one installment, if that will not help them progress. So if we're going to support them for 1 month, but the month after they're going to be in the same situation, we are helping, but we are not solving the problem. So I will recommend you that you do an assessment. You try to find out the need, what are the most urgent needs, and for how long do you expect this needs to be there, and then try to design your intervention to address those most urgent needs for that period of time, while you complement your basic needs intervention with other intervention. You refer the cases to social services of the government. You build up a recovery program for those cases to try to recover their livelihood. So I would recommend that you address the needs, the urgent needs, design something for that, while you also think of what is this family going to need after you finish your basic needs intervention. So you can also provide recovery for them or refer them to other services. So it's really up to the context. But again, if you want to write to us, we will try to provide that feedback that I provide to you in a more detailed and comprehensive way. Thank you, Sylvester. I don't know whether I addressed your question, but again, feel free to write to us. Anybody else wants to share your thoughts? You think that we are producing it meets your needs? What will you need as a national society? What will you need? A technical reference center like the Livelihoods Center could produce for you and your national society. What are you in need from us? If you want to share with us. Sylvester, again, thank you. You are talking about the tourist industry and the agriculture. Yeah, I agree with you. In the Caribbean, the tourism industry it's a key for the economies. So how I suggest? So you have to. There will be different livelihoods within the tourism sector, and there will be different socioeconomic levels. People owning big hotels and people just working at the hotel, or people doing informal work for tourism, selling handicrafts. So you probably need to assess that sector, try to find the activity that has been disrupted and how these activities are affecting people at different levels, because some people might have saving, they might have insurance, they might have a plan B, different incomes within the family, not only from one single income generating activity. So you try to identify those that are just depending on that and they are more vulnerable, and then you design something for that specific group and their specific needs. And the same with the agriculture. Yeah, what is important is that people would get back, continue what they were doing, and if they have stopped, they get back as soon as possible. So also, again, you have to assess. But thank you for your question. Employees and vendors. Yeah, well, vendors, they probably need to reopen, and whatever they need to reopen, if they cannot access through credit or financial services, probably we can help them to get it. Employees, if we have the businesses, and businesses will employ people, and maybe people will need to adapt their skills and knowledge to the new jobs. They maybe need to adapt to remote teleworking, or to working with social networks, or things that they were not used before. So we might find new ways of working, and we might need to adapt the skills and knowledge of people, and we might need to help small businesses to have protocols for protection and disinfecting or many different kind of things that comes to our mind. So basically, assessing will give you the ideas. Sylvester, will there be formal training of livelihoods? Yes, when we have planned for it. We don't have a specific date or a specific location, but we have a plan for resources for it. So if there is a need and there are requested, we could organize. So yes, I think technical training is necessary to identify various vulnerable groups, and also how to monitor, evaluate, and reporting impact are also important. Okay, thank you. Thank you. We can take that into consideration. Trainings are available, tools are also available. Probably they are not adapted to your specific context, but we can provide you the tools and methodologies, and then you can adapt them, and we can help you or support you remotely to adapt them, how to monitor and evaluate. So please, I will really encourage you to write these questions. They're very interesting. Well, we're gonna capture them anyway, but this question or any other question that you might have, please don't hesitate to write to us. You have the email address, I hope, here, bottom right, and also if you visit our livelihood website, livelihoodscenter.org, you will find the link directly to COVID-19. So please do not hesitate to surf in our web for materials, tools, and to write to us, to the online technical remote service, and then we will be happy to support you. Any more questions or comments? Thank you very much for the comments. Were very interesting. Most of the national authorities are currently reviewing or developing recovery plan for COVID-19. Do you have a template? I think the movement the regional office has shared a template for national plans, if I'm not mistaken, and that plan might I'm sure include different sectors. You can also guide yourself from the presentation that I just did, and it will be shared to you today. So you can also you can see the contents, how we plan regionally. So if you feel that suits your needs, you can also plan the template. I can forward that request to the cluster, and I also ask you to encourage you to talk to your cluster. But the template for national plans should have been shared with national societies, or a guide that can be used to help develop recovery plan. Yeah, I mean you could look at the infographic that we just read them in detail. I think we just went through them to tell you how many there are, but you could read them in detail. It could give you some ideas. Their infographic about the impact, about what activities we propose to respond to the crisis. How can you provide continuity, so you can get some ideas? And if you have more questions or more detail or specific questions, write to us, and we will try to provide that guidance that you are asking, or templates. So please write to us. Yes, Sylvester. In the presentation, we shared what the region has designed for livelihood and basic needs, which is general and it's flexible. So it could apply to any context in the region, whether it's Caribbean, South America, Central America, anywhere. So it's quite broad and flexible. But it might provide you some ideas. So you will get the presentation, and if that inspires you, feel free to use it. And as I said, the template, we can, when we finish through Kadrim and the cluster, I think they can provide the template if it's there and available for National Society Response Plan. Or I don't know what the name we give them, but I know there is a template that's been shared. Thank you, Sylvester. Okay. I don't know, from my side, if there are no more questions, I will thank you very much for your time, for your participation. It has been very rich and interesting session, many interesting questions. Again, I really encourage you to write to us, to that email address, because we might provide you a better. This session is not meant to provide answers, it's just to present the resources that we have produced, and one of them is that online remote technical assistance service. So I just wanted to let you know that it's there. So if you write to us, we will give you more specific and detailed answer to your questions. So I really encourage you to write to us, and as I said, also it helps us to capitalize and systematize the needs of the National Society, so we can adapt better to our services to you. So I will thank you very much for your time, for your participation. We will get back in contact with you with the materials for the session. And as I said, if that is okay with you, we'll probably come back to you again to, as a list of people interested in livelihood in the Caribbean, English-speaking Caribbean. So I don't know whether Shani or Lini wants to say something to close the session. From my side, thank you very much. Very happy to provide this session and willing to work with you.
Thank you, Antonio. Thank you so much, guys, for posting your email addresses. We will be in contact with you by the end of today with the presentation and with the links to the resources mentioned. So thank you so much for attending today. Thank you, Antonio. And we look forward to continuing the conversation around livelihoods. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to Kadreen for organizing this session. Thank you so much.